It's been said that there's been really little innovation in the smartphone market over the last couple of years. All the phones seem to look the same. But there's one company that is making a comeback and bringing innovation and the sexy back to smartphones, and that's Motorola. And so today, Sherry and I are going to look at the Moto Z
and the Moto Z Play.
And they're kind of like cousins or brother and sister because there are a lot of similar features. So we're just going to kind of explain the difference between the two. The first thing we'll have to say is the Moto Z is the world's thinnest smartphone, coming in at only 5.19 millimeters thick.
So my Moto Z Play is not as thin as yours, but it's because it has a bigger battery. It's 7 millimeters and has a about 3,500 milliamp battery. That's 50 hours of battery life.
In comparison, the Moto Z has about 2,600 milliamp hours, which you'll be happy if you can get a day's worth of it with active use. Both do have a 5.5-inch screen, but right down to the bottom here, you can see this little square. It looks like a home button. That's actually the fingerprint scanner, and it's not a home button. The home button is actually right above it, and it's been taking us a little bit of time to get used to because you keep hitting this button thinking it's going to take you back to home where it doesn't. So it's something that you have to take into account when you get this phone. But in addition, we have to talk about.
So if you flip it to the bottom, you can see that it's actually sporting the USB Type-C. So that's the newest version, and Moto's really up their game. I have something called the headphone jack, but yours doesn't.
Yeah, a lot of people think the iPhone 7 was the first smartphone without a headphone jack, but it was actually the Moto Z. And being the thinnest phone, it just doesn't have room for it. And just like Apple, they do have an adapter if you have old headphones, and this is a USB-C, which you can insert right over here. And on the other side, you can plug your headphones in. So it's both future-proof and it can handle legacy headphones.
Under the hood, the Moto Z Play has Snapdragon 625 with 3 gigabytes RAM.
And what's really impressive, even though this is a really thin phone, it has a Snapdragon 820 processor with 4 gigs of RAM, which is very similar to what you're seeing with Samsung, LG, and all the other manufacturers out there.
And on the back, you can look at the camera. It's a little bit protruding. Mine's at 60 megapixels.
And mine's at 13 megapixels, which is surprising. I thought it would have more than yours.
But I guess mine has a bigger battery pack, so that could explain for it. And on the front, 5 megapixels front camera.
Now, what really separates this phone from all the other phones when we're talking about innovation has to be what's going on in the back. And this is these little connectors over here, these adapters, which are gold-plated, allowing for something called Moto Mods.
Whoa, these mods came out of nowhere.
The beauty of editing.
Yeah. Let's start with the sound boost from JBL. The back of the Moto Z phones have these gold plates, and all you have to do is snap it together, and it connects magnetically. So when you snap them together, and from there, I'm going to play a little GC intro to show you guys how great it sounds.
Essentially, it's like having a Bluetooth speaker attached to your phone, and this is part of that modular. Oh, that's really loud.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And another great thing about this has to be that kickstand, Sherry.
So there's a little kickstand, so you can set this down on your desk, whatever, when you're watching a movie or a little short video, and you get great sounds.
It's kind of good if you like watching something before you go to bed, and just having that ability really kind of separates this from everything else. But there are more modular Moto Mods out there.
Yes, and when you're not in favor of a Moto Mod and you just want to have a regular phone, you can see that on the back of the Moto Z there's a lot of fingerprints because this is a very shiny surface. So you can add this kind of wood engraving back to it to make it look like a nice premium phone.
And what we should mention is even though we have the Moto Z and the Moto Z Play, these are interchangeable. So say you have two people in the family and one has each of the phones, you can actually switch and trade different Moto Mods between the two. But that's not more. There is so much more innovation going on with these Moto Mods.
I know yours has only less battery life, so what you can do is add a battery pack. So this is from Incipio, and it's the offGRID battery pack. This will add about 2,200 milliamps of battery life, so that's like another day.
And just like that, you have it. So imagine you're going to go hiking out in the great outdoors. You want to keep your phone on you just in case you need help. You can add a battery pack just like that. And you know what? It doesn't even feel that thick. Compared to some of the other phones, it's around the same thickness.
Yeah, and what I really like is this Insta-Share Projector. So this is really great. You can snap this onto the back of your Moto Z phones and basically turn your phone into a projector. This is not, like, obviously the quality is not going to be like a true projector, but when you're out and about, or if you're in a meeting or out camping, this is great for movies and presentations.
And one thing I hope, Sherry, with these Moto Mods is maybe like next year, I hope they can support it for a couple of years. So if you do make the investment in these Moto Mods, you're going to get some good shelf life out of it over the next couple of years.
And my favorite one out of all of these has to be the Hasselblad True Zoom. This will add about 10 times optical zoom on your Moto Mod. So this is great because there's an actual shutter button and like an optical zoom. So when you attach this onto your phone, you can take awesome pictures.
Essentially, you just turned your smartphone into a point-and-shoot camera.
Yeah.
So anybody who's like a photographer or who's going on vacation, having something like this is perfect because you don't even need a point-and-shoot. You just need this Moto Mod. And speaking of which, Hasselblad, these are the guys that put the original camera on the moon to give to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, and they were taking the original photos. So, like, you got a reputable brand on a smartphone. It's like how times have changed. So if you're looking for a phone with innovation, you don't have to go to Apple, you don't have to go to Samsung, you got to go to one of the oldest smartphone manufacturers out there, Motorola, bringing the sexy back with Moto Mods on the Moto Z and the Moto Z Play. Check them out.